Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Heeren, trying to explain to you 11.4. This video is going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to try and combine both parts of 11.4 together, and then you can break it up, take a break, break it up into however you want so that you can still understand what you're doing. So we're talking about area of composite figures. So when I look at this shape here, you'll notice it's not like a regular square, not a regular triangle. It's got 5 sides, but it's not a pentagon that we're used to seeing. So we got to kind of figure out how we're going to do this. Now, probably the way that I think might be the best is you can either break it up, like I could do this, draw a line there, then figure out the area of this and figure out the area of this and add them together. That would be fine. That's not the only way I could break it up. You know, I could go across this way and then figure out this area and add it to this area and go from there. For this particular one, it might be easier for me to kind of complete the rectangle. So figure out the area of the rectangle and then subtract the area of this little triangle. So the area of the whole rectangle is just going to be 12 times 15. All right, so that's going to be the whole big rectangle. So 12 times 15 is going to be 180. So then I got to figure out this little triangle here. Now the area of the little triangle, well, this side is 12, this is 5. That makes that 7 right there. Okay, so the whole thing's got to be 12. This part is 5, so that part is 7. This whole thing is 15. This is 8. That makes this 7. So I've got a triangle where this is 7 and this is 7. So a triangle, remember, is 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to take 1/2 7 times 7. So 49 divided by 2 is 24.5. So 180 minus that is going to give me my answer. So the area of the shaded part is going to be 155 inches squared. Okay? I can always kind of look at it like this and figure out that I want to... A rectangle is way easier to deal with than trapezoids, so that's kind of what I wanted to do there. So this one, figure out the area of the shaded region. So again, I want to take the area of the big triangle, or the big rectangle, and subtract the area of the little one in here. All right, so they tell me that this is 25, this is 25, this is 25, and this is 20. So this outside length here is going to be 25, 25, and 20. So that's going to make that 70 feet. All right, then the length, they tell me this is 100, this is 25, so we can mark off that that's also 25. So that's going to be 150. So the big one is going to be 150 times 70. Okay, 150 times 70. So take 150 times 70, and that's going to be 10,500. Then I subtract the area of this little one in here. So that's going to be just 100 times 20. So it's going to be 2,000. So I get for a final answer 8,500 square feet. Okay, pretty simple. The first one, I tried to just break it up and subtract a piece. The second one, I took the big minus the little. So here you'll see we've got a whole bunch of different pieces here. We've got a rectangle, we got a triangle, we've also got half of a circle. So if I look at the area of the semicircle first, that acts like a radius right there. So I've got a circle with a radius of 4. All right, so area of a circle is pi r squared, but I only want half the circle, so I'm going to divide that by 2. All right, so that's a pi times radius squared. So 16 times pi divided by 2. So I want 16 times pi divided by 2, which is going to be 25.133. Okay, so that's going to be the area of just the semicircle. All right, now the area of the triangle, This is 5.7, though that doesn't really help me. I really want to figure out what that is. And I can't really figure out what that is. So what I've got to do is get clever here. This is still a right triangle. So I'm going to take that is 4, that is 5.7. I want my height. So what I've got to do is Pythagorean theorem. So h squared equals 5.7 squared minus 4 squared. So that's going to be 16.49. So then square root. So that's going to be, this length right here is going to be 4.061. Now that's just that length. That's not the area of the triangle. To figure out the area of the triangle, I've got to take base times height divided by 2. So I want to take 4.061 times 4 divided by 2. When I do that, I get 8.121. That's my answer. Last part, the rectangle is very, very easy. 7 times 4 gives me 28. So then the area is just adding up all those things. So I add those together, and I get 61.254 feet squared as an answer. So I break it up and take it piece by piece and then go from there. All right, so let's take a look at here. This one gets a little bit interesting. So let's take a look here. We need to get clever. So if this length is 22, this length is 31. So 31 minus 22 is 9. That makes this length right here 9. This part is still 22. Now, why does that matter? That matters because here I create a right triangle. That means I can figure out my height here. Okay, so I need to figure out that because that is also the diameter of my circle. So right triangle this thing, Pythagorean theorem this thing, that's 15, that's 9, figure out that. So h squared plus 9 squared equals 15 squared. So h squared equals 144. Square root, h is going to equal 12. So that makes this whole thing 12 right here. So if this is 12, so is this. Okay, so I'm looking at a semicircle where that's 12. So that means my radius is going to be 6. Radius is always going to be half of that. So I need to take 6 squared times pi and then divide it by 2. So when I do that, punch that in the calculator, 36 pi divided by 2 equals 56.55. Then I've already figured out this area, so I can get rid of that. Then I want to take the area of the trapezoid. Area of the trapezoid, remember, you add the bases, divide by 2, multiply it by the height. So what I need to do is take 22 plus 31 divided by 2 times 12. So when I do that, I get 318. So if I add those two, 318 plus 56.55, I get 374.55 centimeters squared. That's my answer. All right, so if you have any questions, please hit pause, rewatch something, and kind of get those things figured out before you move on. So this is going to be all sorts of fun. All right, so figuring out the area of the shaded region. So this is 9, Wait, sorry, that's not 9. This is 9. 14. I need to figure out what that is, and I need to figure out what that is. So figuring out the area of the shaded region. So the area of the parallelogram is going to be base times height, so 14 times 9. All right, so 14 times 9. So that's going to be 126 feet. The area of the kite is this part. Remember, for a kite, you have to multiply the two diagonals and then divide by 2. Okay, so this diagonal, that vertical diagonal, this one right here is going to be 9 feet. So I'm going to take 9 times the other diagonal. The other horizontal diagonal here is going to be 14, and I'm going to divide those by 2. So 14 times 9 is 126. I'm going to divide that by 2, so that's going to give me 63. So the area of the shaded region, I actually want to subtract. All right, so 126 minus 63, you should get 63 feet squared. That's going to be your answer. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the area of regular polygons and regular and composite figures. So we've already talked about composite figures a little bit. Now we're going to jump into regular polygons. What the heck does regular mean? Regular means two things. All sides are equal. All angles are equal. It's also a good time to remember that kind of an old formula that we need to know. So if we go for the sum of all angles, you take the number of sides minus 2 times 180. All right, n is your number of sides. So this might be something to kind of remember what we're doing here. Okay, so regular means all sides are equal, all angles are equal. So they have a regular pentagon here. It's inscribed, meaning it's on the inside of the circle. So PF is going to be my apothem right there. Okay? My apothem goes right here. PA is considered a radius. Okay, so I'm going to the middle of one side and creating a right triangle. All right? That's going to be my apothem. So my center, my central angle is from my center. So a good central angle would just be APB. That would be a fine central angle. Okay, so since it's a pentagon, you know, I take 360 divided by 5 because that's my number of sides. And I get 72 degrees. So that would be how big this angle is, 72 degrees. Okay, so let's kind of talk what we're trying to figure out here. So the square is on the inside. So a center is going to be just K. My radius would either be KG or KH. The apothem is going to be KL, and my central angle is going to be angle GKH. You can't just put angle K because angle K could refer to any of those angles. So the measure of each central angle, I take 360 divided by 4. So it's going to be just 90 degrees. All right, that's kind of all I'm doing right there with that one. So here I've got a hexagon, so shape gets a little more complicated. My center is going to be R. My radius is going to be either RK or RL. My apothem is going to be RS. Notice it's got to go to the middle of this side. It's got to be a perpendicular bisector to that line. Perpendicular means it creates a 90-degree angle. Bisector means it cuts it in half. So my central angle then is going to be KRL. And then since it is a hexagon, they mean 6 sides. So I'm going to take 360 divided by 6. So the measure is going to be 60 degrees. All right, nothing too bad so far. So now figuring out the area of my hexagon is this. So all I do, so this is 9.23. This is going to be 8. So how do I figure out the area of a regular hexagon? So here's all I do. I take the area of the triangle, so 9.23 times 8 divided by 2. And that's going to give me 36.92 centimeters squared. So now how do I figure out the area of the whole hexagon? Well, I have to realize that this hexagon is made up of 6 of those triangles. So I've got the area of one triangle. I need to multiply it by 6 to get the area of the whole hexagon. And all I do is 221.52 when I multiply that. That gives me the area of the whole hexagon. All right, so all I did, area of the triangle, 1/2 base times height, all right, times, my number of sides. I kind of did all that, except I know that this is going to really be my apothem. All right, and then I take my number of sides, or number of triangles, which also matches number of sides, times that. Okay, don't try and memorize this. Kind of think your way through it. Figure out the area of one triangle, multiply by how many triangles. So here, realize that I'm going to make 5 triangles. Area of one triangle is just going to be 20 times 13.8 divided by 2. So that's going to give me 138 meters squared. Then my total is going to be 138 times 5. So that's going to be 690 meters squared. Okay, so you're looking at 2 things here. All right, so here's what we got here. We got a hexagon. Every side is 8, so that makes this 8. This height is 8. So the area of one triangle is going to be just 8 times 8 divided by 2. So that's going to give me 32. That's one triangle. Hexagon, though, has 6 triangles. So I'm going to take 32 times 6 to get me my sum total. So that's going to be 192 feet squared. That's going to be my answer. Okay, that is all of 11.4 put into 1. I know it's a lot of information, but you guys can do it. So now all I need you to do is work on 11.4, 1 and 2 in the Schoology folder, and then we'll talk during a Google chat and we'll kind of get your questions answered. Thank you very much.